and all. I'm Neha, a master's student from Information Security, here to defend my thesis titled Exploration of Gaps in Bitly Spam Detection and Relevant Countermeasures. First and foremost, I would like to introduce you to my committee. Mr. Sachin Kaur from MISOG, who is my subject examiner. Dr. Vinayak Nair from IIT Delhi, who is my examiner. Dr. PK, who is the chair as well as my thesis advisor. I am really thankful to each one of you for taking out time to contribute to my thesis defense. Talking about the achievements of this work actually won the Best Poster Award at Security and Privacy Symposium held at IIT Kanpur in 2014. In addition, we also got a lot of feedback and valuable input from the industry experts as well as professors around the world. Giving you the outline of my presentation, what I will be discussing today is, first I'll talk about the research motivation and aim, because of which I actually did this work, the related work. Then I'll talk about the contributions of my work. Then I'll discuss the methodology, followed by the experiments and analysis that I conducted. Then I'll talk about the solution that we propose to detect malicious links on Bitly, followed by conclusion and future work. To start with, first and foremost, I would like to give a brief introduction as to what URL shortening services are. A URL shortening service is actually a mechanism to compress a long complex URL to a shortened or a shortened random hash, which actually redirects to the same page as the long URL. These URL shortening services can actually be assumed to be a black box, since different URL shortening services uses a different algorithm or a different approach to shorten the long URL. So Bitly is actually the most popular URL shortening services. It's one of the most popular URL shortening services in this domain, followed by Boo.girl by Google, Ad.fly, Owly, TinyURL, etc. The popularity of Bitly is such that it alone shortens close to 80 million links each day and marks 2 to 3 million as suspicious every week. Also, Bitly dominated this industry and gained major traction when it was launched as Twitter's default URL shortening service in 2009, after Twitter launched its own URL shortening service called T.co in year 2011. Talking about the use of URL shortening services, first and foremost, it is used to actually gain space in a lot of online social media. This is because of the imposed length restriction by the online social media like Twitter, which does not allow a user to tweet with the character limit above 140 characters. A snapshot on the right clearly indicates the amount of space that is saved after replacing a long complex URL with a shortened URL. Another uses of short URL services is that these are more easy to manage, since they prevent line breaks and helps in easy propagation of content. Also, a lot of URL shortening services provide a mechanism or provide analytics to a particular shortened link, through which traffic to that link can actually be tracked. This helps various marketing firms and other services to actually keep a track of a particular URL. In addition, some services specifically like Bitly also provides a connection to online social media, wherein a user can connect his own Bitly account to various online social media accounts. This actually helps in the scenario wherein a user can shorten a Bitly account or shorten a Bitly link and then propagate it through a single medium. Another use of URL shortening services is that it actually helps in obfuscation, or we can say it can help in concealing a long URL by replacing it with a short URL, which is easy to look at and less messy as compared to a long URL. With all this genuine usage also comes the abuse. Here I will be discussing two attack scenarios which attackers actually use to exploit Bitly and other URL shortening services. First, I'll talk about one level of obfuscation. What happens here is that an attacker first takes as input a long malicious URL and shorten it with a popular URL shortening service to generate a short malicious URL. This short malicious URL so generated can help him actually evade a lot of blacklist check, which directly impose a check on the long URL. Thereby, he can actually escape the blacklist check. The problem here is that various URL shortening services also impose an on-submission check. That is, they check whenever an attacker or whenever a user submits a long URL, these services keep a check on that URL and directly does not allow that user to carry on the process further if that is found to be malicious. In such a scenario, attackers use an even smarter approach called multi-level obfuscation. Here what happens is that an attacker uses a long malicious URL again. He first shortens it with a not so popular URL shortening service. This can also be his homegrown URL shortening service. Once he shortens it with not so popular URL shortening service, he'll again keep shortening it with a series of other shortening services, followed by a popular URL shortening service in the end. This is actually used to detect the on submission check, to actually evade the on submission check by various URL shortening services. Because the URL submitted right now is not the long malicious URL, but the first step submission is also a shortened URL. Now the thing is that various URL shortening services which perform the on submission check are still better in detection of spam, but Bitly does not impose such a check, which makes the task of attackers even more easier on Bitly. So after using all these attack scenarios and after using all these smarter approaches, the way this attack is executed is that once an attacker shortens a long malicious URL, that URL is actually embedded in a legitimate looking post like this. This is a tweet which looks legitimate, and once this link is clicked, it actually results in spam, scam or other illegitimate content. Now talking about the major attacks that happen on URL shortening services in general or Bitly, the left side discusses the attacks on URL shortening services in general, and the right hand side, the two attacks in year 2012 and 14 talk about the attacks which is specific to Bitly. So here we are actually, all these snapshots clearly show the extent to which spam, the spread of pornographic content, the active spam campaigns, active spam campaigns, the URL hijacking, and all these scenarios which attacker uses to exploit the URL shorteners. So over here we are majorly interested in Bitly, not only because it is the most popular URL shortening service, but also because attackers actually take advantage of users' trust on Bitly. Using this, attackers keep on shortening a lot of malicious URLs using Bitly as a medium. After exploiting Bitly as a medium, all these scenarios actually imposes an additional performance pressure on Bitly to take a timely action to detect spam. With all these spam occurring on Bitly, the detection policies that Bitly uses is, first and foremost, it uses Serval and Google Safe Browsing as two blacklists to detect spam. Serval is actually an IP or domain level blacklist which is formed by the occurrence of websites in unsolicited messages. Google Safe Browsing is a collection of malware and phishing URLs submitted to Google. In addition to these two filters, there are several other filters which are not known to public that Bitly actually uses. Once Bitly detects a malicious URL, it gives a Bitly warning page. This warning page is actually a bypassable warning page, which can easily be skipped by any person, and the person can actually go ahead and click on the malicious URL. In addition, Bitly also says that whenever it marks a URL as suspicious, it does not delete it or remove it. This is because they don't want to break connections for a particular URL. Keeping in mind all these attack scenarios, but upon the continued exploitation of services by Bitly, our aim is actually to do a focused study on Bitly to characterize such malicious URLs, to examine Bitly's security policies in depth, and to identify Bitly specific features in order to detect spam. Now I'll talk about the literature relevant to this work. There has been a lot of work done in the characterization of a short URL, but a little work has been done to characterize malicious short URLs. This particular slide talks about all the work done from year 2009 to 2014. Over here, the work which is the most relevant to us was done in year 2011 by Chabra et al., wherein they actually studied the evolving phishing attacks through short URLs. Another work which is very much relevant to us was done in year 2013 by Maggie et al., wherein they studied the abuse of URL shortening services using 622 distinct shorteners. Also in year 2014, Van et al. Actually came up with the click traffic analysis of Bitly or other URL shortening services on Twitter. So they also identified a lot of Bitly specific features in order to detect spam. The good part of this study is that it is the first study to actually highlight the short URL based features for spam detection. The sad part is that we do not take into consideration the Bitly URLs which are not clicked by any user. So, keeping in mind all these related work, all these relevant literature, the research gap that remains is that there is no dedicated study to actually identify the ground security issues associated with a particular URL shortener. Also, there remains unexplored short URL-based features in order to detect spam before the spam targets the audience. Moving ahead, I'll discuss the major contributions of the work. First, the first contribution is that we actually did a characterization analyzing click traffic of the malicious Bitly URLs and to understand the impact of these URLs on social network. Secondly, we did a detailed inspection to highlight the weaknesses in Bitly spam detection policies, followed by a proposal to detect click-unclick malicious Bitly links. Moving forward, I'll discuss the methodology that we used to actually acquire our dataset. Here, the first approach that we followed was we actually contacted Bitly to share with us a sample of data that is itself marked as malicious. With this, we got close to 7.5 lakh that Bitly gave to us. In these 7.5 lakh malicious Bitly URLs, they also gave the associated long URL along with the number of warning pages displayed for that URL in October 2013. We call this our link dataset. After getting this dataset, we use this as a seed input and use Bitly API to further query this dataset and collect the analytics corresponding to Bitly. The analytics that we collected was link information, which is who's the user who created that link, the timestamp that link was actually created, then the number of clicks received on that link, followed by the domains which are referring traffic to that particular malicious link, and the number of encoders. So these encoders are people who are actually encoding that long URL anywhere in their Bitly history. So after getting all these analytics, we call this our link metric dataset. This link metric dataset is not collected for all 100% of our link dataset. We could only collect it for 54.13 due to the space and time constraints and perform all our analysis on this 54.13% of the data. Moving ahead, using link metric dataset as a seed input, we collected the information corresponding to each encoder. The information that we collected for each encoder was the generic information, that is the encoder user handle, the number of social networking sites he connected to his Bitly account, and also the history, that is the Bitly link that he actually shortened. We call this our encoder metric dataset. After completing this three-phase data collection process, we moved on to our experiments and analysis. The first experiment that we conducted was to analyze the metadata by understanding the content creation on Bitly. For this, we extracted the top-level domains from the long URLs in our linked dataset. These top-level domains when extracted, we also filtered out all the possible false positives by using APWG's standard whitelist. After filtering out these false positives, we got close to 21982 unique domains. When we check the status of these domains after 5 months by using a Python crawler, putting in the GET request, we found 18966, that is 83% of these suspicious domains to be non-existent. This 83% of dead domains actually contributed to close to 10 million hits on Bitly, which is really a big number. All this clearly shows that such domains are created for a dedicated purpose of spamming and eventually die out after achieving a significant number of hits. The another experiment we did after analyzing the content creation was to analyze the network. The network that for this we analyzed two kinds of networks, that is the referent network as well as the connected network. Referent network is actually the network which is directing the traffic to a particular suspicious link. And connected network is the series of online social networks connected by an encoder on Bitly. To analyze the referral network, we first extracted all the Twitter-based referrals in our dataset. These Twitter-based referrals refers to the tweets or the Twitter users who actually encode the given the suspicious URLs in our dataset in the form of their tweets. With this, we got 21679 unique Twitter handles and close to 37,000 unique tweets. After checking the status of these tweets after 5 months, we found that 14.36% of these of the users corresponding to these tweets were actually suspended. 13.99% of these tweets were non-existent, and the most surprising feature that we found was 11.44% users actually changed their Twitter handle in between this process. The even more strange thing was that the number of user handle changes that we observed was more than, for some users they will change their user handles more than 7 to 10 times in our dataset, only in a span of 5 months. Moving ahead, in order to analyze these Twitter profiles, we collected their last 200 tweets using the Twitter API. With this, we got close to 7.8 lakh tweets, for which we wanted to identify the level of similarity between the tweets of these suspicious Twitter accounts. For this, what we did was, we actually calculated the Jaccard similarity scores between the pair of tweets for all the tweets for a particular Twitter handle. Jaccard similarity is actually an accepted measure to compute the similarity between two sample sets. After computing this Jaccard similarity over all the pair of tweets, we calculated the overall variance to identify the extent of similarity across all tweets for a particular Twitter handle. With this, we found that 17 Twitter profiles had a variance as low as 0.001012, which is extremely low, showing high level of similarity between their tweets. On the manual annotation of these 17 profiles, we found that 3 of these profiles actually spread pornographic content. One of these profiles had work from home scam. 11 profiles were also related to spam but had less than equal to 3 tweets, so we ignored them. And at last, 2 of the profiles were actually suspended by Twitter. So all the 17 profiles show high level of similarity on the basis of text. So we moved a step ahead to actually identify their tweeting patterns, to actually identify the timestamp at which they actually tweet. For this, we created an hour of the day versus minute of the hour plot for one profile that spread pornographic content and the other profile that was spreading work from home scam on the right. These 2 graphs clearly represent the robotic behavior followed by these 2 profiles. That is, their activity was actually segregated on a particular hour of the day or on a particular minute of the hour. These 2 graphs give a picture that these profiles are actually bots. So, all this analysis clearly shows that given a particular suspicious URL or Bitly URL, one can actually go ahead and identify suspicious accounts on Twitter as well. Also, only detection but no deletion of such links by Bitly does not impose a restriction on the attackers to actually go ahead and spread these malicious content on other online social media platforms. After doing this referral analysis and analyzing the extent of exploitation, we went ahead to do the connected network analysis. For this, Bitly actually allows its users to connect to the social media accounts in a single Bitly account. That is, a user can connect to his Facebook page as well as the Twitter page. In order to analyze this connected network, we collected all the online social media accounts associated with the encoders in our dataset. With this, we got 63.54% of the users connected only their Twitter account and 17.69% users connected only their Facebook account. Also, 18.77% users connected their Twitter as well as the Facebook account. Such low percentage for Facebook can be attributed to the point that Bitly does not allow its user to connect the brand pages or Facebook brand pages or fan pages for free. But there is no such imposed restriction or documented restriction for Twitter. Also, one more thing that we observed was that Bitly does not restrict the number of accounts a user can actually connect. That is, a user can go ahead and connect n number of Facebook or Twitter accounts through his Bitly profile. With this, we found 700 malicious users in our dataset, connected multiple Twitter accounts, that is more than one Twitter account, and 28 malicious users also connected more than at least 10 Twitter accounts, and the largest number was found to be 35. In order to infer a possible reason behind the connection of so many Twitter accounts by a single Bitly account, we did a 3-level experiment. For this, we first, for all such Bitly profiles connecting multiple Twitter accounts, we extracted their link history, that is their Bitly link, and checked each Bitly link against a Bitly warning page. In step 2, we then extracted their corresponding Twitter handles and extracted their tweets, and again performed inter-Twitter profile Jakarta similarity to check the similarity across different profiles by a single Bitly account. That is, if I have a Bitly account A and I have say n different Twitter accounts connected to that single Bitly account, I wanted to identify the similarity between all 10 Twitter accounts if it exists. Third level check that I performed was on Bitly username. For all these Bitly profiles, I performed an inter-Bitly profile Jakarta similarity to identify if there was some similarity in their usernames also. After doing this experiment and a little manual allocation, I could detect 3 malicious communities that existed in our database. One of these communities actually had 2 Bitly users with 9 associated Twitter accounts each. All these 18 Twitter accounts by these 2 Bitly users actually shared explicit pornographic content, and the strange part that we observed was that this profile is dormant on Bitly but still very active on Twitter. The problem comes because Twitter clearly states in its law that it does not allow the propagation of pornographic content, but still these profiles are actively spreading pornographic content on Twitter. And this is what we inferred by only looking at the Bitly suspicious URLs. This particular snapshot gives the Bitly profile of one of these 2 users who connected 9 Twitter accounts, and this is one Twitter account corresponding to this particular Bitly profile. This makes us give a countermeasure that Bitly should actually impose a restriction on the number of online social media accounts a user can connect. This is important because users are connecting multiple social media accounts, specifically malicious users are doing this, in order to spread an active spam campaign. The other 2 communities that we detected have been documented in my thesis report, and I'm not discussing it here.
Can I have a clarification here? These users are spreading malicious URL, or they're just spreading normal URL?
Malicious URLs.
So all leads to a warning page.
Exactly. So after doing this self-analysis on the connected network and the left-thread network, and identifying extreme loopholes and the extreme spread of spam, scam, and other pornographic content, we went ahead to analyze the loopholes that Bitly had in its spam detection process. For this, we did a 3-level check. That is, we checked Bitly spam detection policies against efficiency, promptness, and tractability. To analyze the efficiency of Bitly in identifying malicious Bitly links, what we did was that we compared the performance of Bitly against 3 popular standard blacklists available. First is APWG, which is an international consortium that brings together businesses attacked by phishing attacks. Second is VirusTotal, which checks a suspicious URL using 52 different website scanning engines. And the last one is Serval, which is a domain or IP level blacklist which occurs from the websites in unsolicited messages. In order to compare the performance of Bitly against APWG, we requested for APWG's live feed. After getting access to this live feed from APWG, we created its own setup using MySQL and Python on our own server. After setting up this system, we kept it running for 6 months and got close to 1.42 lakhs APWG marked suspicious URLs. Of these suspicious URLs, we performed a direct lookup followed by a reverse lookup. Direct lookup we did in order to directly identify if there exist Bitly links in this dataset, for which we got 216 Bitly links directly. In the reverse lookup, we back-shortened. We used the reverse approach to shorten the long malicious URLs in this dataset to check if these URLs were ever shortened before on Bitly. With this, we got 2656 different Bitly URLs which were maliciously marked by APWG. The total gives 2872 APWG marked malicious Bitly URLs. We checked all these URLs for a Bitly warning page and found that close to 86% of these URLs were undetected by Bitly. This such a low detection by Bitly looks alarming. Even though Bitly does not claim to use APWG, but it looks alarming because APW is a very well trusted source to identify phishing attacks. Similarly, when we did this experiment across VirusTotal and Serval, we found that 71.53 malicious Bitly links identified by VirusTotal were not identified by Bitly, and 36.66% domains identified by Serval were not identified by Bitly. The details of these two experiments from VirusTotal and Serval is documented in my research report, and I am not including it here. But this clearly shows that specifically for Serval, what happens is that Bitly on its policy page clearly says that it uses Serval for spam detection. Even then, we found 36.6% domains to be undetected in our small data set. So we can say that, leaving aside other popular blacklist services, Bitly is not even using the claim detection services effectively. So after identifying the loopholes in the detection of malicious links, we went ahead to identify if there exists some loophole in the identification of malicious profiles as well. For this, we defined a term called suspicion factor. This suspicion factor is actually computed as a ratio of links redirecting to a Bitly warning page divided by the total number of links that we collected for each encoder. This suspicion factor is actually the measure of credibility of a Bitly profile. This concept of credibility is actually a very vast area, and one of the students in our lab is actually pursuing a PhD in this area. It is out of scope for this thesis problem, so I just restricted it to this particular analysis. So this suspicion factor or a credibility score was actually computed for all the encoders in our dataset. After computing this suspicion factor, we created a cumulative frequency graph to analyze the suspicion factor in to give a single picture of the suspicion factor for all the encoders in our dataset. With this, we found that the last point, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 users actually shortened malicious URL with a suspicion factor less than equal to 1. And the second last point, that is 10326 users actually shortened malicious URL with a suspicion factor less than equal to 0.99. The gap between the two, that is 2018 users, actually shortened malicious URL with a suspicion factor exactly equal to 1. That is, these users represent 16.35% data of our data set, and this shows that they only shortened malicious URL in their entire Bitly history. This makes us give a second countermeasure, that is, Bitly should take some measures in order to detect and delete such users. Even if Bitly claims that it does not want to break the links or the connections, they can go a step ahead and create a credibility score for each profile to at least warn the users who actually go ahead to click it of the upcoming risks. After doing all this set of analysis, we made a blog entry mentioning the loopholes and the problems with Bitly. In response to which, Brian, that is a senior data scientist from Bitly, replied saying that whenever Bitly identifies a malicious user account, it does not allow it to shorten links any further. So in this response, we told them that there exist traces of in our data set wherein users continuously kept shortening malicious URL and their state of detection was still unknown. In response to which, Brian replied saying that this is something they actually need to improve upon, and they agreed that this is a problem. Also, this check that they do, that whenever they identify a malicious account, they don't allow it to shorten any more links. This is not known to us, and this is something which is completely internal to Bitly. So, already knowing that this inefficiency actually occurs with Bitly, and also based on the comment from Brian that after a certain level of time, when they identify a malicious profile, they don't allow them to shorten links further, we did a promptness check. This promptness check was done in order to identify how quick or slow is Bitly in identifying these profiles. For this, we defined highly suspicious profiles as a user who shortened at least 100 links in their Bitly history, and all their links led to a Bitly warning page. That is, they had a suspicion factor exactly equal to 1. With this, we got 80 such profiles in our dataset. So, with these 80 profiles, in order to analyze the level of activity that they were spreading, or the level of malicious activity that is propagating, we created a month-separated timeline to identify the number of links posted and the clicks received on each link. This particular profile is by the Bitly user Balsaseng, who kept shortening only malicious Bitly links for close to 24 months, and the state of detection is still unknown on Bitly. For this user, as you can see from the graph, the red node actually, the blue node actually denotes the link, number of links posted for each month, and the corresponding red dot denotes the number of clicks received on that particular link. This graph shows that this particular user kept shortening only malicious URLs for close to 7 months, remained inactive for 1 year, and again shortened the malicious URL after a discontinued interval of 1 year. This clearly shows that such users keep shortening malicious Bitly URLs and the state of detection is unknown. Another user that we identified was iPlayOnlineGame, who again kept shortening malicious Bitly URLs for 18 months, and his state of detection is also unknown. Also, we noticed that the links was posted by this particular user receive a significant number of hits on Bitly. With this, in order to identify that how many of these 80 profiles were still active and posting malicious URLs, since Bitly claims that they detect these accounts and don't allow them to post further, we collected their recent click history after 1st January 2014 and found that 4 of these 80 profiles were still active and propagating malicious content. This shows the ease of penetration of spammers on Bitly and the extreme delay in detection of malicious accounts that Bitly uses, though Bitly claims that they actually detect such accounts. Moving ahead, after we identified this extreme holdup or the extreme delay in identification of such accounts, we also did a tractability check. This check was done to actually see the complete picture from the third perspective, that is as to how effective is Bitly's warning page to actually curtail the problem of spam. With this, what we did was, we identified we only did this study for popular malicious Bitly links. We defined popular malicious Bitly links as the ones with a large number of warning pages that we received in that dataset. For this, we reverse sorted our link dataset on the number of warning pages and extracted the top 1,000 such links. We then used Bitly API to collect their recent click history. One surprising figure that we found was 35.2% of these identified malicious links, which were already identified by Bitly in October 2013, are also being clicked till date in year 2014. This clearly gives the inference that a bypassable Bitly warning page is not a strong enough measure to curtail the overall problem of spam. Also, there is no control by Bitly on already identified malicious links that it actually has identified before, which actually results in which actually encourages spammers to use Bitly and spread spam. With this, we give a confirmation tree that Bitly should not only throw a warning page, but instead should go a step ahead to block these URLs at least if these are very popular URLs and involving a lot of click traffic. So the major findings from the security analysis was that Bitly is not using the claim detection services effectively. There is an extreme delay in suspicious user identification, if at all, by Bitly, and a bypassable Bitly warning page is not enough to curtail the overall problem of spam. After analyzing all these loopholes in Bitly's spam detection process, we propose a countermeasure, or we propose a small solution to detect malicious Bitly links before that link actually targets the attackers or targets the audience. For this, I defined the data collection and labeling that we followed. We collected our data using Twitter, using Twitter's API by using bit.ly as the filter word. With this, we got close to 4.1 lakh tweets which had Bitly links embedded. With these 4.1 lakh Bitly links, we extracted these Bitly links and expanded them, and also collected their corresponding Bitly analytics. We did this for 34802 of these 4 lakh links due to the space and time constraints, and our data collection process is still on. We call this as an unlabeled dataset. After formulating this unlabeled dataset, we went ahead to label it. In order to label it, we use the standard blacklist, that is Google Safe Browsing, Circle, Fishtank, Virus Total, to identify the malicious URLs. So from this unlabeled dataset, even if the link is detected by any of the one blacklist, we call it malicious. And we also perform Bitly warning check to identify the malicious links. So any of these links detected here or by a bitly bonding check, we mark them as malicious and rest are marked as benign. With this we form our labeled data set. After forming this labeled data set, we wanted to identify features which can help us classify a bitly URL as malicious or benign. For this, we included two kind of features, that is Whois based features and bitly based features. Whois is actually a query response protocol that gives the information such as the domain, when was the domain created, when will it expire, etc. corresponding to a URL. So these features that we used were domain age, that is the difference between domain creation and expiration date, and link creation domain creation difference, that is when was the link created and when was the corresponding domain created. Another set of features, that bitly specific features, correspond to the bitly analytics that we collected. So for this we again divide them into non-click based and click based. Non-click based features are the ones which do not incorporate the click analytics, and click based features are the ones that incorporate click analytics. Non-click based features that we use for link creation are number of encoders and anonymous and API encoding ratio. I'll explain what anonymous and API encoded ratio is. So whenever a user shortens a link on Bitly, Bitly provides a facility to shorten it anonymously. He can go ahead and shorten it without creating a Bitly account. In such a scenario, the name of the encoder comes as anonymous. Also, a user can actually go ahead and use a particular API, like TweetDeck API, Twitter Feed API that provide various services to shorten these links. With this, the name of the encoder comes as the name of the API, not the actual name of the Bitly profile. So we computed the ratio of encoders which were anonymous or which came from the API to the total number of encoders that were available to us. After this, we collected the click-based features. Click-based feature we used were link creation first click difference, that is the number of days between when the link was created and when was the first click received. The other feature was referring domain direct by total, that is the ratio of referring domains which came from the direct source divided by total number of referring domains in our dataset. Formulating our feature set, we went ahead to carry on our experiments. Here I define the experimental setup. For this we used standard machine learning algorithm in order to train on the pre-labeled dataset to predict the outputs, to predict the labels of an unseen data. The three standard machine learning algorithms that we used were naive-Bayes, decision tree, and random forest. Naive-Bayes is actually a simplistic probabilistic model based on Bayes' theorem. It actually uses maximum likelihood principle and classifies the data into the class with the highest probability. Decision tree is the most popular machine learning algorithm that uses binary decisions or yes or no decision at each level of a tree until it reaches the leaf node. Random forest, on the other hand, uses multiple decision tree to take a decision, and the output class is actually the mode of class output by individual decision trees. Also, this random forest that we use in our dataset, it actually controls the problem of overfitting and is advantageous where the data size of the data is very, very large. In order to implement all these three algorithms, we use Weka software package, which is a standard collection of machine learning classifiers for data mining tasks. After using all these three algorithms, in order to train and test our data, we split our dataset into 75% training and 25% testing. The 75% training, on the 75% training set that we used, we applied 10-fold cross-validation. This 10-fold cross-validation is a scheme wherein our data is divided into 10 subsets. On each run, 9 sets are used for training and 1 is used for testing. And this process repeats 10 times and the average accuracy of all 10 runs is reported. After performing this 10-fold cross-validation, we evaluated the performance of a classifier on the unlabeled data, that is the 25% of the remaining test data. So, the experiment 1 that we conducted was on a mixed dataset. The kind of dataset that we had consisted of 46% of the Bitly links which were never clicked by any user, and 54% of the links which received some or the other number of clicks. So we call this as a mixed dataset of click and non-click links. So for experiment number 1, we used all our 7 features, Whois-based features, non-click based features as well as click features to identify the performance of the classifiers. With this we found that the accuracy using random forest was 80.43 and the recall and F measure was 81% and 81% respectively. This accuracy, recall, precision, all these are the evaluation metrics that we use to evaluate the performance of a classifier. Accuracy is the closeness of the result to the actual result. F measure is actually the weighted average of precision and recall. So, after computing this, after carrying on this experiment, we found the false positive rate to be as low as 20% and the true positive rate as high as 81%. Also, when the another experiment that we conducted was again on the mixed data set, but by removing all the click-based features. Here, we only kept the Whois specific features and the non-click-based features. With this, we found that the accuracy of random forest increased to 83.50% and the recall and precision also increased further. The false positive rate here reduced by 3 to 4 times. Here I'll give you an explanation as to why the accuracy using random forest increased for a data set. This is because when we have malicious bitly links, several of these links actually have outliers in the sense that they behave very similar to the benign bitly links. In terms of number of clicks, in terms of number of OSM accounts which are connected by the user, etc. So, random forest is actually a very good algorithm to control this problem of overfitting or to control this problem of biasness. This is the reason that random forest actually take into consideration these outliers and perform best for our experiment. Moving ahead, we conducted our last experiment on only non-click dataset. In this experiment, we did not include any of the bitly links that received clicks. We did this experiment because in one of the previous literature, that I discussed before, those users did not take into consideration any of the bitly links that received clicks. So we wanted to perform and compare our results with that particular literature. So on conducting this experiment on only non-click based features, on only non-click data and only Whois and non-click based features, we found the accuracy of random forest to increase even further. It reached to 86.41% and the recall increased even further to 89%. The false positive and false negative rate almost reduced to half now. The reason why the accuracy of random forest increased I already discussed. With this, we also wanted to evaluate as to what are the most important or most informative features that we actually came for. For this, we used InfoGate attribute email package from Weka, which actually measures the information gained respective to each class in order to identify the worth of an attribute. Here, for the complete label dataset, that is a mixed dataset of click and non-click links, we found that the type of referring domains was found to be the most important feature and number of encoders were found to be the least important feature. Also, on only the non-click label dataset, link creation was found to be the most important feature and number of encoders found to be the least important feature. This link creation R can actually be considered to be important because many a times there are several bots or automated scripts which keep posting links at odd hours of the day, say 3 AM at night. So this makes our classifier to actually segregate malicious and benign links. Giving a summary of the results that we obtained from this experiment, there was an increase in accuracy NF measure on using only non-click based features. Also, our algorithm is not only efficient in identifying the malicious bitly URLs that receive clicks from the user, but can also identify suspicious links even before they actually receive clicks or even before they actually target their audiences. Also, the problem that we discussed of multi-level obfuscation, the attack that attackers uses, through this solution, we can also solve that problem of multi-level obfuscation. Because all this identification of malicious URLs only depend on the features corresponding to a short URL. So if the link is submitted, that will be a short URL and it will be easy to actually evaluate on the submission time if that is malicious or benign. With this, we give a countermeasure 4, that is, in addition to standard blacklist and other spam detection policies and other spam detection filters, Bitly should also consider its own analytics to identify malicious content. Giving a summary of the countermeasures that we proposed, first and foremost, Bitly should impose a check on the number of connected OSM accounts by a single Bitly profile. Secondly, Bitly should either delete or delete a particular an identified malicious link or introduce a credibility score corresponding to each profile to warn users of any upcoming risk. Thirdly, we will say that more than a warning page, Bitly should go ahead and block a particular malicious account whenever it detects it. In fact, this is one measure which is also followed by Foo.Gul, which is a URL shopping service by Google, where it blocks the account, blocks the link whenever it identifies it as malicious. Fourth countermeasure that we say is that in addition to standard blacklist, Bitly should also use its own analytics to identify spam. Concluding all our results, first and foremost we found that there exist domains which are created for a dedicated purpose of spamming, which eventually die out after achieving a significant number of hits. Next, we found that spammers really exploit the Bitly's policy of not imposing a cap on the number of OSM accounts that a user can connect. We found the existence of malicious communities that operated across Bitly and Twitter. We found that Bitly is not using the claim detection services effectively, and there is an extreme delay in identification of malicious accounts. We also said that a bypassable Bitly warning page is not actually a very good method to detect spam. And at last, we see that the high classification accuracy of non-claim dataset that we found is capable of identifying suspicious links even before they target their audiences. With this, I'll give my future work. That is, till now we did a study on only the links that we obtained from Bitly in the month of October 2013. In future, we would like to do a more exhaustive study by comparing the dataset that we had and the dataset that we received later. This is because the approach of attackers actually evolve over time. We would also like to broaden and generalize the feature set so that it can be applicable to other URL shortening services as well. Also, we would like to develop a browser extension to actually give a real-time implementation of our work that can classify a short Bitly URL as malicious or benign in real time. With this, I would like to thank Dr. PK for his continued support and guidance throughout my thesis work. I would like to thank Anupma Agarwal, a PhD student from IIIT Delhi, for actually helping me out, shepherding me and reviewing my thesis. I would like to thank Brian and Mark from Bitly for sharing the data with us and giving us constant feedback. I would like to thank Sir for giving me an opportunity to present in front of professors and industry experts around the globe. And at last but not the least, I would like to thank all the PCOG members, friends and family for their support. With this, these are the set of references that I used. Thank you, and I'm open to questions.